My name is Dr. Jeremy Shelton. I'm based in Cape Town, South Africa. When I was in high school, I had to make the decision of whether to follow my curiosity in biological sciences direction or in art, and I couldn't really decide. But I knew that if I wanted to go the biology route, that it was important to do maths. And I struggled with maths at school, but I stuck with it and managed to complete my maths in matric, and that allowed me to be accepted at the University of Cape Town. And there I did an undergraduate degree in biology and zoology, and I loved it. I got to meet so many interesting people that have spent their whole careers researching cells and plants and animals and ecosystems, and I got really inspired in undergraduate. So much so that I went on to do an honours after that, and then a master's in conservation biology, and finally I did my PhD in freshwater fish conservation. The more I went through this journey from high school through university, the more I felt like I was able to identify exactly what it is that I was most interested in and kind of hone in on that and start specializing in something that I felt was the world needed, but also that I had an interest in and some ability in. When I was about this big, my dad used to take us down to the coast. They had a holiday house about 2 hours along the coast from Cape Town, and go down. He introduced me to the rock pools. Under that surface of the water there's all these unusual colors and shapes of fish and anemones, and yeah, I was fascinated by this whole other world beneath the surface. So that's what sparked my interest and my relationship with, I guess, aquatic ecosystems at that young age. At the Freshwater Research Centre, we do a range of different kinds of research projects, of conservation projects, and we also do training and environmental education work. So on one day I might be out taking a group of kids, leading a citizen science experience for kids, introducing them to a river ecosystem, explaining to them a little bit about the different animals that live underwater, and using insects to estimate the health of a river that's flowing near their school. On another day, we might be training someone in how to use different kinds of nets to sample fish populations. On another day, we might be writing a research paper with a bunch of colleagues from our organization, but across different organizations. And then other days end up like this, when you're out in the field after all that hard planning and fundraising and strategizing and actually getting into the field, getting into the environment, hands-on, working with, in my case, an endangered species, working with people that share similar passions and skill sets, and trying our best to make a difference in the field that's important to us. The Saving Sandfish project is one of the conservation projects that's currently underway at the Freshwater Research Centre, and it's a collaborative effort where we're working with fishermen and farmers and scientists to find a way to try and improve the populations of the Clanwilliam sandfish. It's South Africa's most threatened migratory fish species, and the Bido River flowing past us here is one of the last places where it's still spawning. In the summer months, it spends the dry time of the year in these big deep pools in the Doring, South Africa's last wild, free-flowing river. And then after the winter rains, they migrate up tributaries like the Bido to spawn. They lay their eggs, which hatch into little sandfish about this big, but then within a few months, those sandfish get preyed on by North American species that were introduced here, and they run out of water in a river that used to hold water all year round. So you have essentially this recruitment blockage, very few young fish surviving to become adults, and that's really a recipe for extinction. So with the Saving Sandfish project, what we're trying to do is bridge that broken life cycle, giving the sandfish a recruitment boost and trying to prevent the species from going extinct and restore the ecosystems where it lives at the same time. Today we took a drive down the Bido River Valley in the northern corner of the Cederberg, and with a group of community members from Heuningvlei, which is a small community near the headwaters of the Bido River, as well as some other scientists from a few organizations. We went down to the river with buckets and air stones, and we spent a few hours collecting little sandfish, tiny little juvenile sandfish trapped in shallow, murky pools that will probably be dry in a few weeks' time. So we used seine nets to scoop these little sandfish up, put them into buckets, gave them oxygen with air stones, and then we took them out of the river and release them into farm dams, sandfish sanctuaries, and habitats that we've created as safe spaces for the sandfish to grow in. Dams where we've removed invasive species with the support of landowners in the catchments. And the idea is, once we've rescued these little sandfish from the river, they go into those dams, they spend a year or two there growing, and then we actually take them back out of those dams and release them back into the wild once they're big enough to have a better chance of survival. And we're finding that that's actually starting to boost the wild population of the endangered Clanwilliam sandfish, and we're hoping to ramp it up as much as we possibly can going forward. I would just encourage everybody to take the time to follow their curiosities. We live in such a fast-paced world where feels like we're always expected to be onto the next thing, but I think to take the time to really slow down, pay attention to what interests you, what you might want to learn more about, and creating the time and the experiences to explore that more deeply. That's what allowed me to discover my passion. And when you're working on something that you're passionate about, there's no other feeling like that. It never really feels like work. It just feels like what you're meant to do, what you want to do, and it's very fulfilling.
Humans are having an incredible impact on how the natural environment is changing. Because our species sits atop the food chain and is the single biggest influencing factor in the health and survival of our planet, we have sought to understand and protect the natural world. Science is in everything around us and helps us find solutions for challenges or threats to our survival. From vaccines to developing safer products for human use, it's science that will drive us forward. We have reached a critical point in history where our science knowledge can be both harmful and helpful. We know exactly how we are harming the natural world around us, and we also have a great understanding of how to preserve it. What we choose to do with that knowledge is a power we yield carefully because it doesn't only affect individuals, it can have a big consequence for large percentages of the population.
My name is Dr. Komojo Pusha Maineja from Moime village in Zanin, in Limpopo. I am currently working within the Natural Science Department, which is the Faculty of Science and Agriculture under the School of Physical and Mineral Sciences at Materials Modeling Center under Physics Department. I am a senior researcher here at University of Limpopo. The only thing that I was introduced to as I was a child, because I'm from a village, it was if you're good in science, you can only become a medical doctor. And then I went to Wits University. I did my medicine there. Decided to drop it because it was a little bit harder for me because there was a lot of words as you do anatomy and physics. And then I decided to come to University of Limpopo to do my BSc. And then I did physical sciences. I majored in physics and chemistry. And then I did masters in physics and chemistry. And then I did my PhD in physics, but specifically in computational material sciences. Natural science is understanding the world, how the world operates, how we interact with the world, the observation and the experimental part. Physical science is an understanding of how the world operates in observation and also in experiment. That's how I would describe physical science. In my field of work, we're working on energy storage. We're trying to improve the performance of the battery. We do research on a material that would sustain the life of the battery. We're also working on the batteries that are functional in electric vehicles, whereby you would charge your vehicle and travel for a longer distance. The advice that I would give the aspiring learners is that careers in science are broad. You don't only have to become an engineer or a medical doctor. The scope is broad. There's material science, there's astrophysics, there's a whole lot of pool that you can choose from. Firstly, you need a matric. You need to get an exemption in matric and have good grades in physics, chemistry, mathematics in order for you to get into the natural sciences. And then you can do your BSc, and then from BSc you can then go into honors. You can further your studies in physics and in chemistry as well. And then from honors you can do your masters. From your masters then you can go into PhD. And then that's where they will call you a doctor. So you see, you don't have to be a medical doctor to become a doctor. So those guys are medical doctors. They don't have PhDs, they have a master's in medicine. But with us, we have a doctorate in science. As you choose your careers, it would be very nice to consider studying natural sciences. There's a lot of opportunities there. You get a chance to go overseas. You get a chance to write your own story about what you do. You get to choose what you would want to study and then explore in that, and then write your books, be a published author in science. When you're doing science, you have this opportunity of collaborating with different universities internationally, so it's quite interesting.
There is a sense of awe and wonder when considering that natural science bears witness to every small change in our world and is also the source of solutions for the challenges facing humanity. Our scientists continue to astonish us with their discoveries that grow our knowledge base of healthcare, agriculture, energy, digital technology, and even space beyond Earth's atmosphere. Natural science professionals rarely work for personal glory. Their devotion is to learning, uncovering what we don't yet know, and then sharing it so that the human race can do better and be better.
My name is Dr. Tobile Kaula. I studied chemistry at the University of Cape Town. I graduated with a bachelor's degree, and then I went to study honors in material science at the University of Cape Town. I later on went to do my master's degree at Wits University in materials engineering, and finally I recently completed my PhD studies at Wits in chemistry. I went to a high school in KwaMashu, a township in Durban. Took interest and I was asking a lot of questions. Why are things the way they are? So I decided to study chemistry at the University of Cape Town. That's where my journey started. Since I've studied and have had experience in a workplace, I've never stopped asking the question why. And every time I ask a question why, it leads to an experiment, which leads to finding out a solution or filling an information gap. For me, I find drive in finding solutions, finding answers in the work that I do. And these solutions, in most cases, have a big impact, whether it's a customer or an end user or people's lives. Currently, I am working as a chief engineer for Ceres Reho's Renewable Power and Water. Before that, I was working as a principal scientist at Element 6. And Element 6 is part of the De Beers Group. De Beers Group mines natural diamonds. Element 6 synthesizes diamonds. And this diamond is used for oil and gas drilling applications. So as a scientist working for Element 6 in the R&D department, my role was to help the development of new products for the oil and gas drilling industry to ensure that these new products give better performance than what is currently on the market. Our role is to find these new ideas, take it from a concept stage and into the commercialization where it is now part of production. So my role was to ensure that these new ideas and concepts can be implemented practically. We can develop a prototype and we can make a product that can be used by the customer. Science is a systematic study of physical, social, and natural worlds through observations and experimentation. If you look at fire, for example, if you take water, if you take rocks, they all have different characteristics. If you study science, you get to find out what these things are that are different about these different substances. You get to understand how they behave and you get to understand why they behave the way they do. Science is really about obtaining knowledge of the world around us, why things are and how do things behave and why they behave the way in which they do. Being a scientist is looking for the why and the how. So if you are interested in why things are the way they are, and you are interested in how things work and why they work the way they do, then you have a place in the science space. The world needs you, the world needs new ideas. It needs the perspectives of young people to come and work in the industry so that they can present solutions that will be robust and be implemented worldwide. So it's important for them to understand that firstly, there is a space for them and there is a need for them. They need to start taking interest in mathematics and physical science.
Knowing the importance of this field of study, we have an appreciation for the need to encourage young people to consider a career in natural science. It also means we should support the work currently being done, as it undoubtedly will have an effect on how we live and thrive in the future. Young people want to know that their career will have a meaningful impact, and that there are few areas where they can help shape the world like they can with natural science.